Hi, welcome to Street Preach Ministries. I'm your host, Brother Jay, as we're taking the Gospels back to the streets. Today's drive-through message is the wilderness, God's test. I don't know how to say this, but being in the way, which I've been in the way, decades now. And it's been a roller coaster ride. I mean, I've been up, down, around. But this is the way. This is the true way that God leads his people. And because you're in a wilderness or a valley, doesn't mean God forsook you. Doesn't mean that God has abandoned you. It's part of the process. The Bible said that we consider ourselves strangers and pilgrims down here on a journey. You know, and journey means you're moving. You're not idle. We go from faith to faith. And the wilderness is definitely going to be a part of that trip of faith. You'll never experience God's miraculous power until you get beyond yourself. Now, I'm one in the natural because I'm like Thomas. I'll prove it. I'm one that pretty much a realist, pragmatist, a logician, and my brain gets in the way of faith sometimes. Sometimes guys are just a little too slow for me, and so I plot 4 or 5 moves ahead just in case you don't come through. But that's in the natural. So faith for guys like us is a lot harder. But I've learned God's ways over the years. That's what God had lamented about the children of Israel, that he did take into the wilderness to prove them. He said, these people have seen my acts, but only Moses, Joshua and Caleb, you could throw them in there too, come to know my way. Now, I don't know what wilderness you're facing. There's different types of wilderness. Your wilderness could be an addiction, drug, alcohol, or something. Your wilderness could be a sickness. Your wilderness could be financial difficulties. Your wilderness could be family, or a wife or a husband. Something you've been going through for years, and you don't see no light at the end of the tunnel. Or uncertainty is a wilderness. You don't know where you fit in God's scheme of things. What your mission statement is. Whatever the wilderness is, you're to trust God in that wilderness and hold on. And trust God to get you through that wilderness. Now we're going to start, and I chose 3 characters out of the Bible for the wilderness experience. One was Abraham, the father of faith. Next is Christ Jesus himself and Paul after that. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn. Well, let me finish this before I get into Abraham. Because this message really hits home, because I'm in the wilderness right now. I put my pants legs on one at a time. I'm not one of those, I told you, super heroes with a cape on, of faith, flying through the air with sparks flying out of my ass. I'm not that guy. I am an up and down moment, and I keep it pretty much real. Now, for me keeping it real, and I'll say this about your wilderness. Your wilderness, you can be full, you can have a house full of people and still feel alone in your wilderness. That doesn't matter. I happen to be single and alone. There's a difference between being alone and lonely. I'm not lonely, I'm alone. That's by choice. I just happen to attract a lot of BSers, liars, flakes, weirdos, creeps. So I got a handful of friends that I've had for many years. And one came to visit me where I lived here in Vegas not too long ago, but I keep a very small, select group of friends, but they're real friends. But it's hard to get in my circle because all the time I open up, some weird old creep comes in and does something creepy. So I kind of stay to myself for that reason. But that being said, it's a difference between being lonely and alone, or alone and lonely. Christ said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. God's with you. And if you believe it, you got angels. And all said, you got God's company always with you, 24/7. You may not feel it, you may not see it. You just have to trust God by faith. And I have to remind myself that too. Like I said, I'm not one of those superheroes flying through the air with me. I have my up and down moments. But God has proven himself in the decades of service that I've served him. He'll always come through like Seattle, so he's come through every time. I've been through different types of valleys, different types of wilderness journeys. But the title is The Wilderness, God's Test. And the reason I titled this, because we're being tested. That's why. We're being tempted. Tempt and test is the same thing. Now you had those that say God wouldn't tempt you. Yeah, he will. We're going to see that in a minute. Sure he will. Absolutely. Those people ignorant of the word, which there's so many that never take time to read it and study it from Genesis to Revelations, would be surprised. The type of God that we really serve. You can get my teaching. That's one thing about Street Preach. We done taught pretty much from Genesis to Revelations, including lost books of the Bible we done plowed through. Enoch and Jasher, Jubilees, and so on. Some of the Apocrypha books. We're not afraid here to tackle the whole Word of God. Because it's a revelation of God. How he reveals himself as a person, so you get to know him. How are you going to know him if you don't study his ways? Then you're in for shock and awe. When your fantasy of what you thought was God come crashing in around, especially if you're unlucky or don't get it down here and lead his life and wake up in hell, like so many. There's a lot of Christians, pastors, church folks, gospel singers, you can name it, in hell. They thought God was playing because they didn't study to show themselves approved. So they wake up to a whole different type of God. Satan will be their God for eternity. Now, I'm saying we're going to start with the reason for the balance. Let's start there first before I get into the characters. One reason, and I'm going to use a verse for each reason for the test, for the wilderness test, valley, use /valley, is to humble you and to break you. So turn to Deuteronomy 8:2. God's going to prove what's in your heart. With God talks cheap. Said to be the doers. Be ye doers of the word. I don't have my fill of talkers. That's another thing I attract. A bunch of I'm an action Jackson. Always been on my own. While you talking about it, I'll be about it. And I got my fill of talkers too over the years. It's another thing I attract. They can talk a good one. You ain't gonna be able to talk your way past God. He's going to put you to the test and prove you too. To see what you made of. Because he created this element in us called free will. And what God is looking for your free will is for you to trust him, no matter what your eyeballs see, to get to that stage where God said, and if I die in the process of it not being obtained, get my video, some die without obtaining the promise. I think that's the title of it. Or some die not obtaining. I think that's it. And some get the promise, and then that means you got to go to another promise. But faith is what we teach here at Street Preach. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. Faith is action based on beliefs, sustained by confidence in God's word. And what he says he's going to do, he's going to do. God is looking for favors. People that will trust his word. And that's hard for us because we're creatures of sight, what we see, of our perceived reality. God comes from outside our reality. But that's what he's looking for. And when he finds a man, a woman of faith, God opens up to him. Because that's what turns God on, to put it in the street light. What turns you on is turn you on. You just put it in flesh and blood. What turns you on, man or woman, whatever you are. What turns you on? What type of person attracts you? Well, that's what attracts God, faith. And without faith, it's impossible to please him. We walk by faith, not by sight. You can go on and on with faith. We're saved by faith. Through grace. Not of works, lest any man should boast. It's a gift of God. It's what God is looking for. That's what moves God. And like I said, I confess. Because I'm a person that's based in what I told you, in logic, reality. Faith comes a little bit harder for people like this. Our brain sometimes gets in the way. But God made me, and he knows me, and he's been patient with me. God will accept your baby steps of faith. Jesus said if you had the faith of the grain of a mustard seed, you'll say to this mountain, be moved, the mountain will hop into the sea. So as long as you got a little faith, it's better than no faith. Now, purpose of the wilderness. Deuteronomy 8:2. And thou shalt remember all the way which thy Lord God hath led thee, these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee, to squeeze all the pride out of thee. That's what alienates us that's what puts a wall between God and us. It's pride. I will, self-will. It's all pride is. All we let sheep turn straight, turn every man our own way. Isaiah 56:3. That's all it is. That's pride and that's sin in a nutshell. I will. You have, what's his name? What was that? The Perv. Alistair Crowe. King Perv. He said, do as thou wilt. That's the opposite of what thine will be done. That's what Christ said. And those that's eating the crawly vomit, they're saying, do as thou wilt. That's Hollywood pretty much in a nutshell. That's the philosophy they follow. And hell's going to be full of them. That's where you're going to go. Do as thou wilt, you go, okay. God will allow you to do it too. You go right to hell. Be with the devil in his coat. Roast him for eternity. Ain't got no party like Hollywood next. Now, he wants to humble us. So he puts us through this wilderness to humble us. And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee 40 years in the wilderness to humble thee, and to prove thee. That's tempt. You can say the same word, prove, tempt, same thing. God will tempt you. Absolutely. He's going to prove what's in your heart. You can't do this with him. You got so many, oh Lord Jesus, sitting up there. That ain't moving God as much as your life of faith. That moves God. The favors move God, not this. He's had enough of this. He had that from the children of Israel. He said these people always praise me with their lips, but their heart are far from me. God will prove what's in your heart. Talk ain't gonna work with him. I understand. Because I've got no, I done crossed the Rubicon, 55. I have less patience for talkers. That's BSRs. I can spot it right now. God done gave me like a sixth sense. I can see it before it gets there. And you'll never find so many of them as in the so-called Christian church. Whooping and hollering and bawling and wouldn't lift a finger in faith to make God happy. Just all talk. Or crab in the barrel to try to pull their brother and sister down, it is. In faith. And doing it God's way. They become the target. Like the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the scribes of Jesus. They're trying to pull him down. And his followers. And they don't realize it. Now, I've done plenty of teaching on that. Get marching, keep your mouth shut. Get too many babes in the church. Those babes, I don't address that issue a lot about these friendly fire Christians. I deal with them. Deal with them on the social media site. Friendly fire Christians. Go on with that. But we're in the wilderness. And those that don't want to go through the wilderness, guess what? Where are you going to end up? Because this is the way. There's no getting around the wilderness. The best of them went to the wilderness. We're about to read that in a minute. God's going to prove you. He's going to humble you. He's going to test you. You just read it for yourself. And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee 40 years in the wilderness to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart. I can't get more clear than that. God's going to find out who you really love. Who do you love? Oh, yeah, who do you love? Who do you love? Can't BS God. To know what is in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep my commandments or not. Doers. That's what God's looking for. He's had enough of mouths. Plenty of those. Like I said, so-called Christian church was all talk. No action. Or you got those that substitute being a praying mantis for warfare. Nothing wrong with praying. I done taught on it. They've been teaching the power of prayer. But I've also taught, give a teaching on Joshua. Possess the land. You can go on with different teaching videos where it's a time for action. And prayer ain't no substitute for action. Pray before you go into battle. Pray while you're in battle. You can pray when you come out of the battle. Out of the battle. But you're the battle. God has a mission and an assignment for all of us. Where you can't just talk your way through it. Blab your way out of it. Now, I'll turn to, the next one is trust and purpose. So, we can go to Psalms 78, 15. What's the purpose of this wilderness? It's to trust God. And I said that earlier. God's looking for men and women that will trust Him. Now, He already had Adam and Eve. He said, you eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you're going to die. Satan said, no, you're not. And the graveyards have been proving God right for thousands of years. God said. They trusted the devil instead of God. So God, once again, is filling that void vacated by Satan and his crew, third of the angels, with faithers. That's what that void has been filled with. He wants people to trust him. And he's going to put you through the wilderness to see what's in your heart. All of us. No one is exempt. I told you, I've been through several wildernesses. He don't leave you. You know, he brings you to oases, and you get a respite. And then he keeps you moving. Go from faith to faith. Some of us would love to retire at the oasis. But that's not God's plan, God's way. We go from faith to faith. We're sojourning here. This world is not our home. If you're a true Christian, you really believe it. So many don't. Can't tell them apart from the world. The Bible says clearly, come out and give them a teaching on the world. 1 John. Love not the world series. This will separate you from them. And your idols. That's what the children of Israel thought. They can carry their idols and get a little bit of Egypt and the rest of the surrounding pagan nations and a little God. And all they got was kicked off the land and cursed by God. It's either or. You have to wean yourself from this world, the flesh, and the devil to get close to God. And the wilderness is part of that process. To teach you to trust God, to have communion with God, a relationship with Him without the idols and distractions of the world, which is plenty of. Satan's world. God made that. The Bible made that clear. Satan, the God of this world. Engineered, set up. As a reminder, wherever you look, it's paganism. Holidays every day. I call them Helly days. Whatever you want to do. Television, movies, all that. Now, Hollywood, it's all set up by hell. That's why he said to come out from among. It's to lure you and keep you trapped into the world. The wilderness is to separate you and to purify your heart. Why are you separated? For God's work and His purpose. Which this is battlefield work. We're soldiers here. I was looking for black belts, spiritual combat, special forces. He wants to raise up to take it to the devil. You got your general army and others too that can do what they can do. That's what God's looking for, warriors. They take it to Satan. Jesus said, I'll build my church and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And the wilderness is part of that training ground, that testing ground. To toughen you up before the warfare. Now, 78:15. He clave the rocks in the wilderness. God split the rocks and water flowed. Large river of water cascaded in the wilderness and gave them drink as out of the great depths. It was like a spring God took a giant, and you can look up Ron Wide in the wilderness, they found that rock. And you can see the split in the water erosion from where the water did run. This was a great torrent of water. God had 2.25 million people to give water to. It's a lot of people. So it was a lot of water in a barren wilderness. He brought streams also out of the rock and caused waters to run down like rivers. And they sinned yet more against him by provoking the Most High in the wilderness. And they tempted God in their heart by asking meat for their lust. The word he used for tempt that they did is like a metallurgist that tests gold or silver to see if it's pure or not. God said, I brought you in the wilderness to test you. We just read it earlier. To prove what's in your heart. They put God to the test and got to complaining and won. And they tempted God in their heart by asking meat for their lust. Yea, they spake against God. They said, can God furnish a table in the wilderness? Now God was doing it his way. They wanted God to do it another way. So they got angry. Behold, he smote the rock, and the waters gushed out, and the streams overflowed. Can he give bread also? Can he provide flesh for his people? Therefore the Lord heard this, and was wroth. So a fire was kindled against Jacob, and anger also came up against Israel, because they believed not, faith not in God, and trusted not in the salvation. God killed a bunch of them. I think it was, I don't know, either 22,000 or 32,000. I forget which one. I know it's somewhere along that line that he killed with the meat in their mouth. They wanted the quail. God rained quail, sent the east wind to blow quail, and killed it while they was eating the quail. God killed him. He didn't want to piss this guy off. Stories. This book is filled from Genesis to Revelations with him killing people, including the flood, and then at the end, Revelations, where he's going to wipe out billions would it be, during the Great Tribulation. Great Tribulation. Don't mess with God. God of love and grace, but he got that other side. He'll kill you. And hell, the lake of fire is a testament that he can hold a grudge against you. Because you're going to roast forever. Now, he wants us to trust him. That's what he brought him out there for. That was his purpose. Exodus 16:4. Turn to Exodus 16:4. Now this is for you doubters that doubt. I'm going to give you more proof of what I'm saying. God wouldn't tempt you, brothers. Yeah, he will. I'm going to give you plenty of proof. If anything you'll be convinced of is this, that he will test you and prove you. Plenty, because a lot of you don't read the Bible, so you would know this was in there if you did. Or you read it and don't read it. Just gloss over it. If you take those blinders on, or those dark sunglasses you wear, you'll be able to see them. 16:4. Exodus 16:4. Then said the Lord unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you. Now the bread symbolized Christ. That's why God took offense to them complaining that they was sick of that manna. Whatchamacallit bread is what it translates to. Whatchamacallit. Or what is this? Bread. These were angel cakes. We tarted these angel cakes. God's raining down. Angels baking cakes and raining them down. So we're sick of these angel cakes. We want some meat. And God killed them. A bunch of them. Then said the Lord unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you. And the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them. Say that there you go again. Whether they will walk in my law or not. Now, they failed to test because they complained, murmured against God, and he had to kill a bunch of them to straighten them up. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare. Okay, I'm not going to go there. Just want to show you where he's tempting them, proving them. Look it up for yourself. Same thing. Prove, test, tempt. All the same. In case some of you get hung up on meanings of words, look it up for yourself. Exodus 20:20. Let you read it again. Till you totally convinced. Exodus 20:20. And Moses said unto the people, fear not, for God is come to prove you. that his fear may be before thee, and before, that his fear may be before your face, and that ye sin not. Fear of the Lord is beginning of wisdom, and the part from evil is understanding. Say, there he is saying, you prove them, you come to prove them again, come to test them, see what they made of. They failed, like I said. You end up subsequently wiping them out. 2.25 million destroying their bones and willows. They failed the test. Deuteronomy 8:2. We're going to go to Deuteronomy 8:2. I want this to settle in with you, what this wilderness is about. Proving and testing ground for God. This is where God gets to see what you're made of, and he hasn't changed. It's the same today, yesterday, and forever. His methods haven't changed. And we're not safe until we're over there. Then there's no more tests, no more proving. You made it. You graduated. Once you get to heaven. And God could say, well done, thou good and faithful servant. You passed the test. That's what this is about. And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord our God led thee, 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee, and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or not. Oh, I read that one. I'm sorry. That one I read. Go to verse 16. Who fed thee in the wilderness with manna, which thy fathers knew not, that he might humble thee, that he might prove thee, to do good at the thee good at thy latter end. After you pass the test, now God know he can trust you, so he can open up to you and bless you. That's what he means, to prove thee at thy latter end. See, we all want it now. I mean too. I'll be the first to raise my hand. I want it now. I think I've had enough testing and proving these decades of serving God. I think I've arrived. But it's not what I think. It's what God thinks. And that goes for you in your wilderness situation. Now, I'm going to read that again because this is such a powerful